out with Windows 95 on my Packard Bell. All right, you ready for your next comedian of the evening? This gentleman, not only is he a comedian, he's also a Boston producer, runs a couple shows down there. He's also the host of the On the Scene podcast. Please make some noise for Maxwell Shultz, everybody!
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks so much for coming out to End of a Hallway. I run a very similar room in Northern Mass, so I feel like it's safe for me to make that kind of a joke. I think this my opener is going to be directed more toward the men in the room, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a lady, so I don't know. You guys know those like very awkward, very obviously bought messages you get on Instagram and Facebook that are just porn? You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, great. It's not just men. Awesome. I'm a huge advocate of always interacting with those people because they might be my sister and she is delightful. They're shaking hands like one of them is my sister, and although they seem delightful, they're not. Unless you have something to tell me. My sister is not in that line of work to my knowledge. However, we were estranged for most of our lives to my knowledge. They're my audience. You're all here, but I'm not even into the first joke really. Anyways, so my sister's not in that line of work to my knowledge, but we were estranged till I was 23, so the way we met was she messaged me on Facebook and said, "Hey, I think we should get to know each other." And all I had to go off was that her profile picture looked like me with better boobs. So I said, "Hey," and then she said, "Is your dad named Dave?" Which it is, like that is my father's name, but that is a really weird follow-up question. I was beginning to wonder, like, is this somebody my dad owes money to? Do I have to deal with like a whole thing? And then she was like, "I think you're my brother, and here's a list of reasons why." And she was right. And had I not like interacted and then eventually flown to West Virginia a bunch of times to hang out with her, which is why I don't think you're her. But again, maybe there's a conversation to be had. Flew to West Virginia a bunch of times, like dozens of times since this happened, and I become very close with her and her family and everything. And had I not done that a bunch of times, I would have never met Haley, who is now my fiance. She moved here from West Virginia about 2 years ago to marry me, which seems crazy because I'm going to tell you how we met. I was outside of my sister's mother's house smoking a joint, and I was on Bumble. And the reason I was on Bumble was because I went away to West Virginia for a week, thinking, I wonder if I can get laid in a week in a place I don't live. And I could, and we're getting married. We met on Bumble. She said, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "Great, but I'm driving to Boston in 12 hours, and I don't know when I'll be back. Do you want to hang out tonight?" And she said, "Sure." About a half hour later, I was inside her. About 31 minutes later, I wasn't, and we're getting married. I did this bit in front of my sister in West Virginia about a month ago, and I thought she'd be like, "Wait a minute, that means that you like left my children with my with my boyfriend without telling me, like, what the fuck?" And instead she said, "Congrats!" So that's who more of my sister is. If that's really your name, we got a conversation. I learned recently in the idea of getting married and being engaged, when you tell your friends and family and everybody that you're engaged, you can use that, I've learned, as justification to buy absolutely anything. I will give you some, as long as you say it's for the wedding, I'll give you some examples. One, we're getting married October 19th of this year, so in our apartment we have somewhere between like 15 and 3,000 little pumpkins that are for the wedding, but I know she just really wants them. What we're going to do with them after the wedding, I have no idea. I think I could take it a step further and buy a cajon, one of the drums that you sit on and hit with your hands, because we're having live acoustic music. I think it'd be fun to have as well. But I just want one, right? And this is my justification. The furthest I think I can take this is I think I can buy a giraffe. I think that if I have it be like one of my groomsmen or like the ring bearer, the government has to let me have a giraffe. And the main reason I still do this joke is because I did it like a month ago, 2 months ago, and this woman sitting kind of where you guys are came up to me after my set and said, "Hey, I really liked your material, but in that joke, you mentioned living in an apartment, and I just really don't want you to accidentally mishandle that giraffe. You're not really, this is a real conversation. She was like, you're not really gonna buy a giraffe, right? Like, I'm just really worried about his well-being. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Of course I'm not buying a giraffe. That's absurd. And I thank her every day for ending that joke for me in real world. I am, although I may not look like a stereotypical one, I am a huge Taylor Swift fan. And like I love her. Like I got engaged at the Eras Tour, and like I saw the movie. And did anybody else see the movie in theaters? Yes. One yes, but I don't know who it was. Fantastic. Yeah. We probably had a similar experience. I did not realize going in that it would resemble what I imagined volunteering to chaperone a middle school dance while knowing none of the children. My favorite part of the night, so there's these children, like, and by children I mean like somewhere between like 5 and like 15-year-olds, just running and screaming, and it's amazing to watch, terrifying if you're probably their parent. But my favorite part of the night is early in the show, she does a song called The Man. In The Man, there's a couplet where she says, I'd be a bitch, not a baller. That is the line. And I watched about 12 toddlers, I'm going to call them toddlers, form a human pyramid and then collapse the human pyramid while yelling the word bitch. And it was the best thing. I cannot hear that song and not think of like little kids screaming bitch. I was recently asked, I was at work on break. I was outside, had my headphones on, my hat on, my coat on, smoking a cigarette, minding my own business, and a woman asked me what situationship I was in. Those were her words. Those were her words. And at first, I know that sounds like maybe it was like somebody trying to flirt awkwardly, or like she was coming on to me or something. But what she really said was, "Hey, do you need a few dollars? I just don't know what situationship you're in." Which said a few things. One, she does not know what the word situationship means, but tries. Two, she thought I was homeless. Three, she is a customer of mine who knows I work next to where I was smoking a cigarette, so I guess she thinks that I work in a coffee shop by day and sleep behind a coffee shop by night. But also it said to me that like either I look homeless, and that's a bad thing, or homeless people look like me, and that might still be a bad thing. Either way, it's not great. Stupid bit, but I like it. That works, this is why I work. I realized, like, I'm not religious at all. If you couldn't tell by the rest of the set, like, churches freak me out. But, like, I know a bunch of, like, mainstream religions have this whole, like, shame thing to them, and I think there might be something behind that. I, out of pure shame, have been hiding garbage from people for most of my life. I'll give you some examples. Like when I was young, I got in trouble, like 15, I got in trouble for smoking weed. Anytime I had to throw out a lighter, I'd like put in like 8 Walmart bags and then throw it away. You might hear of like teenagers hiding pregnancy tests, things like that. The other day, I hid a wrapper for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich I bought at the gas station because I didn't want my family to know I was that lazy. And so I stuffed it in a Funyuns bag and threw that in the trash can. And Haley asked, why would I do that? She's like, I don't care what you buy or eat. And I was like, yeah, but the rest of them might. And I'm afraid of that. I know we're in a no alcohol room, so this joke's probably safe. I won't get jumped after this. I quit drinking 2 years ago this month. Yeah, murmured applause, and then you're all like, that's a beautiful thing. Right. No, I quit drinking because I was, the same reason everybody who stops drinking. I was drinking too much and then I realized it and I stopped, you know. There's more elements, but that's the gist. At the height of the pandemic, I was unemployed. I was just home with my roommates, hanging out, and I was waking up at like 11 or 12 in the afternoon, drinking about 30 beers, and then I wake up again at 4 a.m., sprawled across the kitchen floor, cuddling my roommate's dog. Right, everybody, you're ahead of me, none of you are. And initially that said to me that I must be like the most innocent, pure drunk I know. Like at my worst, all I do is care about Cupcake the dog. Right, and then I thought about it and I thought, well, while that is probably true, what might be true is that I just really care about Cupcake the dog. And I was really afraid of my feelings. I think I'm in the clear though, because since I stopped drinking, no animals have come on to me. And I did that joke in front of Cupcake's owner, Corey, recently, and he said, Max, you have nothing to worry about. I'm pretty sure you did not fuck my dog. Real sweet thing to hear. Speaking of sweet things, I bought Klondike bars recently because I'm an adult and I go to the grocery store instead of hunter-gatherer type. I think I would die that way. The other reason I bought them though is because my fiance told me she had never had one, which seemed absurd to me because I've been eating them my whole life, right? So I brought them home, gave her one, and after her first bite, she said, "What did you do to get this?" And I wasn't thinking, and I said, "I don't know, I paid a guy like $6. And she was like, "Yeah, but the ad implies murder." So I think the next time I go grocery shopping with Haley, I have to stab the cashier regardless of what we buy to prove that I'm a man, right? Stupid. It is. Have fun with it, but it's stupid. Let's see, where are we going? I told you I was I told you I was homeless, but not homeless. I work at the coffee shop that I sleep behind. Because of that story, I'm looking for new work. And I actually just got a job. I'm going to be working at a dispensary pretty soon in Massachusetts, so I don't have to worry about it. But while I was looking, I have an English degree, so I was applying for everything under the sun that had to do vaguely with English. So I applied to be a paralegal because I've seen Who Shot Mr. Burns, and I think I can do better than Chief Wiggum. First question, I forget what it was, but I was like, I can do this. I can probably fake my way into law. And then by the second question, I realized there's no way I can fake my way into law. And so I didn't get my results, and I think it's because I must be overqualified. That's what I'm telling myself. I have a few minutes left, so I'm going to use that time to just look at you and tell you the other day I was masturbating. And now we have 3.5 minutes to let us all accept that. No, the reason I'm telling you that, I feel like you guys can handle a relatively gross joke. I was doing that, and the way most 29-year-olds do, I was watching a video on my phone, or 75-year-olds, if you're listening to Randy. I was watching a video on my phone, and it started in the weirdest way I think pornography can start. There were 2 minutes exactly of black and white still frames of the video I would then see. And then at the 30-second mark, over top of the still frames in giant white letters read the words, "In Memoriam." This is a true story. And then told a 1.5-minute long text story about how the man in the video died in a horrific motorcycle accident 2 days after shooting this video. Well, I was right. And I have mentioned that I'm not religious, I'm not Catholic, so I don't like to mourn when I come. So I paused the video, and I thought to myself for maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and then I did what I think then, believe now, was the correct next move. I started the video again and ejaculated as quickly as possible. Which is about 4 minutes and 47 seconds after In Memoriam. But it makes sense, right? Because this was his dying art. He would have wanted us to enjoy it to the fullest. And I did not finish his movie, but I'm willing to bet he is triumphant at the end and the hero of the story, and he prevails in his last film. I've got time for one more. Do you want a cutesy joke or a really gross joke?
Gross.
Gross? All right. This is the grossest joke I've ever written. However, it is a true story, and I love telling people. It's not a thing I did. Don't get grossed out that way. I recorded an album called Just Another Beautiful Day about a year and a couple months ago. And I recorded it in my hometown of Haverhill, Massachusetts. And when I did so, I had a bunch of coworkers come out and support, which was weird because those guys didn't do things like show compassion or admiration or affection for each other, but yet they were in the audience. And I had one coworker ask the question, not when is the show or how much is the show, but instead, can I come to the show? And the reason she asked that was because most shows are 18 or 21 plus. This was 21 plus. She wasn't 21 yet, and I was like, you can come, but I need written permission from your parent or whoever you live with. She said, why? And I said, because in the middle of this album I'm recording, there's about 3.5 uninterrupted minutes where I describe my infected penis, and you need to be okay with that. She, I thought, would hit me or call me an asshole or like run away. And instead what she said at the speed I'm about to say it, and I'm so sorry for anybody else to hear this, all of you voted for it, they were quiet. She said, quote, "That's okay, my mom told me all the time she likes to butt fuck my stepdad." It is 4 p.m. on a Wednesday in a restaurant. There are customers. And I said, So I spoke from my heart, and I said, listen, you shouldn't know that. Spoke to my head, and I said, listen, I shouldn't know that. And then I realized very quickly that none of you should know that. Because I have not, and will not say her last name, but I will say mine. I'm Max Shultz. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you.
Let's go for Max Shultz, everybody.